Hey everyone, welcome to today's story. A story of betrayal, secrets, and shocking truths. But before we dive in, I have a question for you. Where are you watching from? Drop your city in the comments below. And here's something even deeper. Have you ever experienced or known someone who has faced a cheating wife in real life? If so, share your story in the comments. You never know. Your experience might help someone else going through the same situation. Let's get into it. The past few months had been a relentless storm of commitments and obligations, an unending cycle of client demands, system failures, and critical deadlines. I had barely seen my home, let alone spent any meaningful time with Clara. Each week blurred into the next. Airports, rental cars, unfamiliar hotel rooms, and early morning coffee runs before long days troubleshooting complex issues. The excitement of solving problems kept me going, but deep inside, an unease had started to creep in. Something felt different, though I pushed the thought aside, chalking it up to exhaustion. 3 months ago, Clara had started acting strangely. It was subtle at first. Shorter phone calls, less engagement when we spoke. She stopped nagging me about being away so much, which ironically made me feel worse. When I finally had a weekend off, she encouraged me to take an extra day for myself, saying she had a spa trip planned with some colleagues. That wasn't like her. Clara enjoyed pampering herself, but she never turned down a chance for us to spend time together. Still, I ignored the small alarms ringing in my head. Maybe she was just adjusting to our new normal. Then came the changes at home. A new fragrance lingered on our pillows, one I didn't recognize. A silk robe I had never seen before appeared in our bathroom. The house seemed unnaturally pristine, like a hotel room rather than a home lived in by a couple married for 3 decades. I even joked about it once, telling Clara she had finally broken her habit of leaving coffee cups everywhere. She had only laughed, but it didn't quite reach her eyes. The distant look that followed unsettled me. The final warning sign came a few weeks ago when I found an unopened bottle of wine, her favorite, hidden away in the cupboard. Clara never drank alone. Wine was for evenings together, for laughter, for conversations that drifted into the night. Yet this bottle sat untouched, stashed away like an afterthought. It was as if she had stopped waiting for me. I wanted to ask her about it, but every time I built up the courage, something stopped me. Maybe I didn't want to hear the answer. Work had been my refuge, the one place where everything made sense. The long hours, the impossible problems, the satisfaction of a job well done. It was all a distraction from the gnawing feeling that my marriage was shifting beneath my feet. But I told myself things would get better. I had just finished my biggest project of the year, and I was ahead of schedule. I planned to surprise Clara for our 30th anniversary, to remind her that no matter how many hours I spent buried in work, she was always my priority. That's why on that fateful Thursday night, I was eager to get home. The drive had been exhausting, but I was fueled by the thought of seeing Clara's face light up when she saw the roses I'd carefully picked out. I imagined the way she would laugh, how she would tease me about my sentimental gestures. I was ready to make things right, to reconnect. But as I pulled into the driveway and saw an unfamiliar car parked there, the small alarms that had been ringing in my mind for months suddenly became deafening. Something was very, very wrong. It had been a grueling week. I spent Sunday driving to a client's plant and spent 3 days fixing their network and database. By Thursday afternoon, everything was running smoothly, ahead of schedule. My client was thrilled, and I was eager to surprise my wife, Clara, for our 30th anniversary. She'd been frustrated with my frequent trips lately, but when your client's business is at stake, the job comes first. A bit of background: I own a small, successful computer consulting firm that I built from scratch. Clara and I got married right after college. I've always stayed in decent shape, and while Clara wasn't a supermodel, I always thought she was beautiful. After having our 2 kids, she kept her curvy figure. Clara worked in a downtown office, enjoyed buying new clothes, and changed cars every few years. I could support us both easily, but she liked working. Our kids, Nora and Ryan, grew up to be responsible adults. Nora with her husband, and Ryan, married to his high school sweetheart, with 2 kids. I got home around 11 p.m. on Thursday after a 10-hour drive. There was an unfamiliar car in the driveway, but I thought nothing of it. I grabbed a bouquet of 15 yellow roses, one for each year of our marriage, and headed inside, eager to surprise her. But instead of Clara, I heard them first. I froze, shocked, then quickly retreated to my car and grabbed my camera, leaving the flowers behind. They were on a break. When I returned, I overheard him ask, "You're sure your husband doesn't suspect anything?" Clara giggled. "No, he has no idea. He won't be back until Saturday, and by then, everything will be perfect. He'll never know." In that moment, the cliché hit me hard. "I know," he said, But if he does find out, things could get ugly. He won't. He's too wrapped up in that stupid business. Now, where were we? Oh, right. I silently crept down the hall, setting up my camera. The bedroom door was wide open, dimly lit by a bedside lamp. I stood across the hall, hidden in the shadows as they continued. I recorded for about 30 minutes. It sickened me. I fought the urge to vomit as I crouched in the spare bedroom. When they started again for the third time, I slipped out. Clara always preferred stopping once one of us climaxed. But with this guy, she couldn't get enough. At first I was furious. Then I was angry. Now I was determined to get even. It would take time, but the cold rage inside kept me focused. My heart broke as I realized the family I thought I had was already gone. I found a cheap motel nearby and tried to sleep, but my mind raced with possibilities. I had no intention of physically hurting them, but emotionally and financially, I would make them regret it. I had his plate number and could easily track him down. Clara would be trickier, but I had a few ideas. Maybe I could go after her RRSPs, which I'd contributed to over the years. She had a job, but it barely paid for her car and toys. Meanwhile, my business, which had funded everything we had, was the real source of our comfortable life. That gravy train was stopping tomorrow. I woke up early, made some calls, and spoke to my lawyer. I asked, "Ethan, do you know any good divorce lawyers?" He replied, "Luke, what's going on with you and Clara?" "She found a boyfriend while I've been busting my A," I said. Ethan paused. "I'm really sorry to hear that. Maya Fields is the best I know." "Like the actress?" I asked, surprised. "I don't think so, but she's tough," Ethan answered. "Can I use you as a reference?" I asked. "Sure. Here's her number," Ethan said. After hanging up, I showered, shaved, and left the motel. I wasn't about to sleep in my car, even though I hadn't rested much. At my store, Isabel, my office manager, was already there. She knew the business inside and out. I told her what had happened. "Why does this always happen to the good people?" she asked, tears in her eyes. I didn't have an answer. I stayed out of her way, confirming the lawyer meeting and waiting until Clara went to work to start my plans. I called a friend who owned a locksmith business. "Can you meet me at noon? I need the house rekeyed." "You got it." Next, I bought moving supplies and went to the motor vehicle registration office. For $25, I got a complete history of Clara's car. I stopped by a florist for an urgent bouquet order and promised an extra $50 for a quick turnaround. Then I went to Maya Fields' office where I was surprised. She wasn't what I expected, tall, confident, and professional. For the first time since I found out, I felt like I might have a chance. When she greeted me, I shook her hand. "Thanks for the referral, Ethan," I said. "Please, call me Luke," she replied. "All right, Luke, let's get started." Her office was spacious and well-furnished. She motioned for me to sit. "Do you have any proof?" Maya asked. I handed her my camera. "Just hit play on the video." She watched the footage, then asked, "How long is it?" "About 35 minutes, I said. "The first part is audio. I recorded from down the hall. The rest is from the spare bedroom. They didn't notice me." Maya sat up, focused. "Got it. What do you want from this?" I sighed. "I've worked for 30 years to build my business. It's successful, but now it's clear she just wants a paycheck. We've barely been intimate in the last 2 years, and I know why now. She's too tired or not in the mood. That ends today. I want her gone. Completely." "Do you have a prenup?" she asked. "Yeah," I replied. "Her dad insisted on it. He died a few years ago, spent everything he had." "Do you have the prenup?" Maya asked again. "I'll have my lawyer send it over," I said. She nodded. "Good. And your business?" "It's an LLC," I replied. "I'm the sole owner. Clara was just a director. She never wanted more." Maya considered this. "All right. Don't make any rash moves. I know you're angry, but don't give her or her lawyer anything to use against you." I nodded. "I'm past angry. Now, I want them to regret crossing me." I outlined my plan, and Maya told me to go to the bank to remove Clara from all accounts and make insurance changes. I felt more confident leaving her office. At the bank, the manager, a younger woman, helped me right away. An hour later, Clara had no access to any accounts, and I'd canceled the company credit card and closed all our joint accounts. I called Ethan to update him and put him in touch with the bank manager. After confirming everything was in order, I went to lunch. The locksmith arrived at my house and rekeyed everything. While he worked, I packed Clara's things into boxes. 4 large boxes later, her belongings were stacked outside. The locksmith finished, and I locked up the house. My next stop was the florist, where I picked up a bouquet of 15 black roses. I gave the delivery guy, Jerry, the address and told him to deliver it to Clara's office at 4 p.m. sharp. At 4 p.m., Jerry dropped off a vase at Clara's office. She opened the card, saw the anniversary message crossed out, and a 0 written in its place. Inside, I'd included photos of her belongings on the lawn. She lost it. I ignored her calls and told my staff I wouldn't be back until Saturday. Later, I set up webcams to watch her when she came home. She tried the locks, rang the doorbell, but I didn't answer. She sat on the doorstep crying, then called again. I told her to have her boyfriend pick up her things. Any further contact would go through my lawyer. I went to bed feeling strangely calm. The chaos of the last few days was over. The next morning, I checked messages. 3 from my daughter, 2 from my son, and over 30 from Clara. I deleted them all. I ran errands, then went to an internet cafe to look up Clara's lover, John K. Burns. He worked for a company known for its strong ethical principles. I wondered how they'd feel about a video showing one of their employees cheating. I decided to hold on to it unless Burns made a move. When I got home, Clara's car was in the driveway. I drove past, heading downtown. If needed, I'd handle things with Maya, not on my doorstep. A couple of hours later, the car was gone and there was a note on my door. I tossed it unread. More missed calls from the kids. I called Ryan first. "Dad, what's going on? Is it true? Did you really put Mom's stuff on the lawn?" Ryan asked. "Yeah, I caught her cheating. I've got the video to prove it," I replied. "You have a video?" he asked, surprised. "Yeah, I filmed them last Thursday. It's clear," I said. Ryan stayed quiet for a moment. "Dad, I can't believe it. Mom would never—" "I'm sure. Ask her about stupid meal ticket." "She'll know what I mean," I interrupted. Next, I called Nora. "Dad, I know what happened, but why did you do it?" Nora asked. "I caught her cheating. No matter what she says, it's still cheating," I answered. "I can't believe it," she said, her voice shaky. "I've got the video. You can see it if you want, but I wouldn't," I warned. "Mom says it's not true," she replied. "Next time you talk to her, ask her about John K. Burns and stupid meal ticket. If she's honest, she'll tell you. If not, I can show you the video," I said. "I can't believe this," Nora whispered. "I know. I figured you'd side with her, but I love you and Ryan no matter what," I said. I ended the call, then got a message from Isabel on my burner phone. I planned to call her later, but needed a nap first. Around that time, Burns and Clara came to my door, but I wasn't interested. 10 minutes later, they left. I grabbed a bite to eat at a quiet pub. Afterward, I came home to find Nora waiting outside. "Dad, my keys don't work," she said. "I changed the locks. You and Ryan will get new ones once this is settled. If you still want them," I replied. "Why not now?" she asked. "Think about it. You'll figure it out," I answered. She looked confused. "Why aren't you with David?" "I need to talk to you about Mom. She wants me to talk sense into you," I said. She followed me inside and I locked the door behind us. "She says you're wrong. There's no boyfriend. She doesn't believe you have a video," Nora said. "Well, if she wants the video, have her lawyer contact mine. Maya has it. I don't know if Mom has a lawyer, but she should get one," I told her. "Mom's hoping you'll forgive her," Nora said quietly. "So now she admits something happened?" I asked. Nora sighed. "Yeah, I guess. When I asked, she broke down." "Well, that's her problem, not mine," I said. "You're being too hard on her," Nora said. "I never claimed to be perfect, but I never cheated. I worked my A off for this family. Was I always around? No. Can she say the same?" I replied. "You might want to watch the video, Miss Perfect. Then you'd understand," I added. "She'll clean you out, you know," Nora warned. "Not if the prenup holds. Her dad made us sign one. I hated it at the time, but now I'm thankful. If she wants a copy, she can ask Maya," I said. She paused, then walked to her car, deep in thought. "Welcome to my world," I muttered as she drove off. The rainstorm on Sunday kept Clara and Burns away. I sipped coffee, watching the water rush down the street, just like my marriage. I checked my emails and found a few from Kenny B, asking for my forgiveness. I filed them away. I looked up alienation of affection. I'd ask Maya about it later. For now, I needed to prepare a package for Mrs. Burns and his employer. Following my gut, I dug up Clara's employment contract and found a morals clause, something she'd probably forgotten. It could be useful, so I considered sending it to her employer. I shut down the computers, changed passwords, and watched TV. The weather matched my mood. I had 4 new messages. Nora apologized. Ryan said he'd call back after talking to his mom, and 2 were from Clara, which I deleted. I picked up my Kobo and read about history and espionage for an escape. Monday, I called a junk service to pick up the furniture in my driveway. I dragged out all the bedroom furniture except the lamps. Those stayed for now. At the store, I told the staff, "Clara can't contact me. Any messages go through my lawyer." Isabel smirked. "If she tries, she'll deal with me." "Good, Chloe. Isabel, ask her to leave if she shows up. If she refuses, call the police." I bought a new bed from a furniture store, no haggling, to be delivered that night. At lunch, Olga fussed over me, and Slim gave me support. It meant a lot. Back at the store, I got a stack of messages from Clara. I only kept one. Maya confirmed the grounds for divorce were infidelity. I also asked Maya about alienation of affection. I called Ethan to finalize the company meeting. He caught my lie but didn't comment. I asked him to send copies of everything to Maya and my bank. A commotion broke out. Clara was trying to get into my office. Isabel and Chloe held her back. Clara slapped Isabel, leaving a handprint. Isabel called the police. They came, calmed things down, and escorted Clara out. Isabel pressed charges. I called Ethan to arrange a restraining order, 100 meters from the store and 300 from my house. He promised to expedite it. Wednesday, I signed corporate documents at Ethan's office and discussed the prenup. Clara keeps what she brought in, plus her car and RRSPs. She can't touch the house or business. Maya called to say Clara refused to sign the divorce papers. "Not surprised," I muttered. Maya also said Clara would need her own lawyer. 3 weeks later, Maya called again. Clara still refused to sign. "She's losing her security," Maya said. "She can't survive on what she makes." I was shocked when Clara pled not guilty to attack. I can't believe her lawyer is letting her do this. The trial would be months away. Meanwhile, the divorce dragged on. Clara's lawyer tried to challenge the video's authenticity, but the judge wasn't impressed. Clara then requested joint counseling. I reluctantly agreed to solo sessions first. For joint ones, I insisted on bringing my own male counselor, which they reluctantly agreed to. At the first joint session, Clara and her counselor were waiting. I sat across from the desk with my counselor, Harry. I made it clear, "Mr. Davis, please, Harry can call me Luke." I told Samantha that if Clara started with excuses, I was walking out. She agreed to let me speak. I laid out everything, including catching Clara with her boyfriend and filming it. She tried to interrupt, but I warned her to stay quiet or I'd leave. The session ended, and Harry and I walked out. Outside, Harry asked if I needed him to keep coming. I said no, but I wanted him there to make sure Clara didn't pull anything. That evening, there was a knock at the door. Burns. I called emergency, and the police soon escorted him away, glaring at my house. The week passed quietly with no calls from Clara or the kids. I stayed busy with work. Chloe got engaged, no date set yet. I was happy for her. Isabel was getting too involved, so I took more client visits to get space. If things got worse, I could sell the house, split the money with Clara, and move on. Maya said we had a strong case, and Clara's share depended on my generosity, which was running thin. I joined a gym, got a personal trainer, and cleaned up my diet. Slowly, I felt better and started sleeping well. The second therapy session was pointless. Clara tried to justify her cheating, but I tuned her out. Harry took notes. I told him to cancel the next session. It wasn't helping. The third session was the same. Clara brought the kids, clearly coached. I told Harry I wasn't staying in a marriage based on lies. That was the end. The settlement was next. In court, the judge allowed the divorce to proceed. Maya hugged me as we left. 6 months, and I'd be free. The settlement was simple. Clara kept her car and RRSPs, and I paid off her car loan. I kept the house furnishings. She wasn't happy when I told her the bedroom suite was gone. She ruined everything. That's life. After the divorce, I asked Maya to file the alienation of affection lawsuit against Burns. It wouldn't go far, but it felt right. I also sent Mrs. Burns the video with my number if she wanted to talk. 2 weeks later, Elizabeth Burns showed up with her kids. "I'm Elizabeth Burns. Can we talk?" she asked. I invited them in, and she thanked me for helping end her marriage. "We're getting divorced," she said. "By the time I'm done with him, he won't have a pot to piss in." She had known about the affair, but had no proof until the video. "I just wanted you to know what kind of man you married," I told her. She nodded. If Clara had admitted what she did, I might have considered support, but she never did. "We're moving to Victoria," she added. "I've got a job lined up." "I wish you the best," I said. She smiled. "Oh, he'll get what he deserves." After a brief chat, she left with her kids. I stood there feeling relief. Payback's a witch. I finished some yard work, grabbed a beer, and relaxed. Isabel showed up soon after. "Don't you ever answer your door?" she teased. "Only if I want to talk," I chuckled. She sat down and asked, "Got anything cold?" "Sure. White wine?" I offered. "Chardonnay, please," she said. I grabbed the wine and joined her. "So what's up?" I asked. "I was visiting a friend nearby and thought I'd check on you," Isabel said. "Chloe and the others are worried. You've been stuck in this house working too much. You need a break." "I knew you'd say that," I replied. "You haven't had a vacation in forever. Just take a couple weeks, go somewhere," she suggested. "I'll take a break after the divorce is final," I said. "We know you trust us with the store. It's not about that," she reassured me. "Fine. What's the deadline?" I asked. 16 days, she grinned. "Deal? And I'll bring Chardonnay when you cook dinner," I said with a smile. She laughed. "It's a date." 2 weeks later, I took a break and rented an RV to explore Western Canada. My first stop was a small campground. I grilled a steak, sipped Merlot, and met some friendly RVers. After a couple of days, I hit the road again. At a larger campground, I met Jeff, a guy who didn't quite fit in with the usual crowd. "I'm Luke. What brings you here?" I asked. He shrugged. "I spent money on a tech degree, but there's no work for it here, so I helped my grandparents run the campground." "What did you study?" I asked. "Microsoft Certified Systems Engineer, but no one needs me here." "That's tough. Anything around here for you?" "No, I might have to move after the season." I met his grandpa, who was proud of him. "Jeff set up the campground network," he said. "He's a smart kid." The next day, Jeff showed me his work. I was impressed by his skills and passion. "You ever think about moving?" I asked. "If I have to go to a big city for work, I will," he said. "But I'd rather not." I thought about it. Maybe I could help him. Jeff nodded. "There's just not enough work here." "Well, you're doing great work," I said. "Thanks for showing me." "Thanks, Mr. Davis." I went for a walk. "See you at the fire?" "Definitely." After a short hike, I kept thinking about Jeff. Later, I called Isabel and pitched the idea of offering Jeff a job, without him knowing I was behind it. We decided I'd pretend to be a friend who knew about a network tech opening. There was an actual position, and I was sure Jeff was the right fit. That evening, I met Jeff's mom, Mary, and her friend. It was clear they cared for each other, and Mary mentioned Jeff's worry about leaving her. It only made me more determined to help him. The next day, I caught Jeff after he finished his chores. "Hey, what if there was work in Kent?" I asked. "Kent, is there work there?" he asked, skeptical. "Well, I spoke to a friend. They're looking for a network guy. It's not a big city, but there's work," I explained. "They need someone? Why can't they find local talent?" Jeff asked. "I don't know. Thought you might be interested." "What do you think?" I said. "I'm interested. Who do I talk to?" he asked eagerly. I handed him Isabel's contact info. "Her name's Isabel. She runs the place." "When should I go?" Jeff asked. "I'll give her a heads up." "When can you be there?" I asked. "I can be there Monday," he said. "Great. Go in, make a good impression, and see what happens," I encouraged him. He looked down at the paper, excited. That night, Jeff's grandparents pulled me aside. "I knew it was you," George said with a grin. "But I appreciate it. He deserves this." "I think so too," I said. The next morning, I called Isabel. "Jeff will be there Monday. His name's Jeff Winters," I told her. "This about the mysterious call?" she asked. "Yep. His grandparents own the campground I've been staying at. He set up their network. He's Microsoft certified," I explained. "Well, it's been a while since we had new talent. I'll meet him," she said. "Just interview him, then send him out for coffee. After lunch, tell him he's hired if he wants it. He starts Monday," I instructed. "Got it. But Luke, why are you doing this?" Isabel asked. "Jeff's a smart, humble guy who deserves a chance. It feels good to help," I said. "All right, St. Luke. We'll hire him," she teased. I smiled, knowing the plan was in motion. The next day, George and I sat outside for coffee. "I need to know what you're doing for Jeff," he said. "I'm offering him a chance because he's good at what he does," I replied. "It's not charity." "I think he'll get it." "I do too," I said. "If he doesn't mess it up, it's his." We made plans to fish that afternoon, and I felt lighter knowing Jeff's future might be changing. After lunch, we went fishing and came back with 4 trout. We cleaned them, and George promised Selma would cook them. Later, I grabbed wine and headed to George and Selma's. They lived upstairs, so I joined them as they watched birds and the barbecue cooked. The smell was amazing. We were waiting for Jeff, his mom, and her friend. Before they arrived, I turned to George. "Did you tell Selma about this morning?" I asked. He shifted uncomfortably. "Yeah, but she promised not to say anything." I laughed. "All right, no more spoilers." Selma hugged me. "We really appreciate this. Jeff's been packing all day. Mary had to convince him not to wear a suit. I told him a suit would freak out my team," I said with a smile. Soon, Jeff and the others arrived. Dinner was great. Lots of fishing talk and laughter. A few days later, I hit the road again, leaving Riverside behind but planning my next visit. I had 4 days left on my RV rental, so I stayed at a few more campgrounds, but none felt as welcoming as Riverside. On Tuesday, I called Isabel. "How's Jeff?" I asked. "He's thrilled," she said. "Apartment hunting, and the team's happy. He's a great addition." "Good, that's what I hoped for." I returned home on Friday. The house was as I'd left it, needing some yard work. Isabel had likely been picking up my mail. No word from Clara. She was a closed chapter. Soon, my phone buzzed. It was Isabel. "Hey, you're home," she said. "Just a figment of your imagination," I joked. She laughed. "I knew you'd be back by now. Want me to drop off your mail? Come on over, I'll find some refreshments." "I'll be over soon," she said, and hung up. I finished some chores, set up the deck, and waited. Isabel arrived as I was rummaging through the shed. "Where are you, wanderer?" she called. "Over here," I answered. I locked up the shed and joined her. "Something cold?" I asked. "I've got chilled Pinot Gris," she said. "Chardonnay's not cold yet." "Pinot Gris sounds great." We sat down and she handed me the mail. Most of it was junk, but there were letters from my lawyer, Ethan, and 2 from Maya Fields. Ethan's was just a final invoice. Maya's first letter confirmed the divorce was final, and the second was about a new computer system for her law firm. I paused. How much bigger did I want to grow the business? I needed a staff meeting. We sipped wine in silence for a while before Isabel broke the quiet. "Looks like you survived your vacation," she teased. I didn't realize how burned out I was. "I feel recharged," I admitted. She smiled. "We knew. You didn't." "Well, it worked. Even if I ended up hiring Jeff while I was away," I said with a chuckle. "Exactly. He's a great fit. No ego, just a solid guy," she said. "That's good to hear. Maybe his first project should be Maya's new system," I suggested. Isabel raised an eyebrow. "That's a big job." "Exactly. Before I commit, I want to talk to everyone. We need to decide how big we want to grow," I explained. "I agree," she said. "We need to talk to everyone, even Jeff." "Let's have a casual planning session with some grilling," I suggested. "Sounds good. I'll make the calls for Sunday at 1 p.m., she said, dialing her phone. "Perfect," I said. A few minutes later, I asked, "Pizza or Chinese?" "Pizza," she replied. I ordered an extra-large deluxe pizza, and over pizza and wine, we planned the company gathering, with a staff meeting first. Isabel left early, and I relaxed on the deck, though something felt off. It was an early night, and I slept deeply. The company event went well with about 20 people. I led the staff meeting in my office while others relaxed outside. We made decisions, including giving Jeff the lead on the law office contract, and agreed to hold off on hiring a new tech unless needed. After the meeting, we joined the others for fun and games. Monday, it felt like I hadn't been away at all. Business picked up in the following months. The law office contract wrapped up on time and under budget, and I gave Jeff and Mike bonuses. I set up a profit-sharing plan with my accountant to be distributed at year-end, but Jeff wouldn't be part of it. With little retail business, I decided to run a small staff over Christmas. Since I was working the holidays, Isabel and Chloe handled the scheduling, and the techs covered the rest. On December 23rd, I handed out profit-sharing checks as a surprise. Everyone was thrilled. Chloe and Isabel teared up, and the techs were emotional too. We didn't hire new techs as the current team was managing the workload. We kept our regular Monday to Friday hours, closing on weekends. My main challenge was Isabel. I liked her more than I'd planned, but I had a rule about not dating staff. I didn't want to risk our friendship, so I put it on hold. One Saturday, Isabel's daughter, Sophia, called. They were planning a surprise birthday party for Isabel and needed my help. During coffee, Sophia said, "Mom really likes you." "Not as her boss?" I asked. "No, as a person. She thinks you're not interested because she doesn't think she's your type. I respect her, but I also value our friendship too much to risk it." Sophia smiled. "She'd love it if you asked her out." You respect her, and she's been waiting for this." I wasn't sure, but Sophia convinced me. The next day, I called Isabel. "Hey, it's Luke," I said, feeling nervous. "I know who's calling," she laughed. I smiled. "What are you doing tomorrow?" "No plans. Why?" "I was thinking we could go shopping." "Shopping? You?" she teased. "More like RV shopping. I love the rental, and I'm thinking of buying one." She laughed. "Sure, why not? Pick me up before lunch." We went out for lunch, then visited RV dealers. Isabel was excited by all the options. Afterward, I cooked a simple dinner at my place, and we spent the evening relaxing on the couch. "Thank you, Luke. Today was amazing," she said, her voice soft. "I just wanted to spend time with someone I care about," I admitted. She looked at me, her expression curious. "Do you mean that?" "I do," I said. "I've been holding back, but I care about you. I'd like to take you out." She smiled softly. "I've been waiting for you to say that." She kissed me, then said, "You better be sure. I'm a one-man woman." "I'm sure," I whispered. "I want you, Isabel, and not just for tonight. I want more." That night, everything changed between us. The next morning, I woke up feeling at peace, Isabel beside me. I made coffee and let her sleep in. When she woke, she teased me. I had a dream about spending the night with an amazing guy. Then I realized it wasn't a dream. I kissed her. "We have work soon. I'll take you home to change." She laughed. "I'm not fired then? I thought you didn't date employees." "We haven't even had a date yet," I joked. "We just went shopping." The day passed quickly. I dropped Isabel off to change and arrived at work before her. We kept it quiet for now. As usual, we were the last to leave. While locking up, Isabel turned to me. "Where do we go from here? I want us to be a couple, but I'm scared," she admitted. "Scared of me?" I asked. "No, of us," she clarified. "I haven't been in a relationship for a while, and neither have you." "I'm scared too," I admitted. "What if we're not right for each other? I don't want to lose you." She hesitated, then said, "We'll take it one day at a time." I pulled her into a hug. She sighed. "What if I'm not enough for you?" I cupped her face gently. "I think you're amazing. I'm not going anywhere." She smiled, though there was still uncertainty in her eyes. "What now?" "How about dinner? Then we can talk more," I suggested. On the way to her place, we picked up a bottle of wine. When we arrived, she opened the pantry and frowned. "Sorry, Luke, the cupboard's bare," she said apologetically. I laughed. "Blame me for the RV trip." She grinned. "I love it." I met her gaze and said softly, "I love you." She froze for a moment, then whispered, "I love you too." I pulled her into my arms as she started to cry. "I've wanted this for so long," she murmured. After a quiet dinner, we snuggled on the sofa. "Luke, you could have anyone. I'm not a beauty queen," she said hesitantly. I shook my head. "Beauty's just skin deep. You've got so much to offer." She fell silent for a moment, then said, "I think I've been in love with you for a long time, but didn't want to admit it. After everything with Clara, I wasn't sure." I kissed the top of her head. "I've been in love with you since the day you hired me." She sighed, relaxing against me. "That won't happen again, as long as I'm around." I chuckled. "I know. Sophia wanted to make sure I hired you for the right reasons." I kissed her again and stood. "I should go. I didn't sleep much last night." "Me neither," Isabel said with a dreamy smile. "It feels like a dream." I left her place, barely through the door, when my phone rang. It was Nora. "Dad, where have you been?" "I've been calling," she said, sounding impatient. "I was having dinner with a friend," I replied. "You're not a monk? Who is she?" she pressed. "Maybe I'll tell you later," I said, amused. "Come on, who is she?" Nora insisted. "I'll tell you when I can. Gotta go. Love you," I said, before hanging up. Back home, I changed into sweats and plopped down in front of the TV. A few minutes later, my phone rang again. Isabel this time. "Hey, just calling to say goodnight," she said. "Miss you," I murmured, hearing the tiredness in her voice. "I told Nora about us," I added. "Did you?" Isabel asked. "How'd she take it?" She said, "It's about time. Why didn't you just say it was her?" Isabel laughed softly. "I'm okay with it. I wasn't sure how public you wanted to be." "I don't care. I just want you to be okay," I reassured her. "Love you," she said. "Love you too." "Sleep well," I said before hanging up. I turned off the TV and went to bed, feeling both exhausted and excited about what was to come. The next day, Sophia called. "Luke, we need you to drop Mom off at exactly 7 p.m. next Wednesday. Can you handle that?" she asked. "I think so," I said. "Why 7? Don't tell her, but Emma, our husbands and I bought her a new car. It's arriving on Tuesday, but they need Wednesday to prep it. The owner is delivering it at 5, and we need time to add some extras. We need her at 7, not sooner, she explained. Got it. And this is at your place, right? I asked. Yes, everyone else will be here earlier, she confirmed. My lips are sealed. I'll figure it out, I promised. Thanks, Luke, she said before hanging up. After the call, I wondered how to pull it off with Isabel. It'd take some planning. The week passed quickly. We didn't get much time together. For our first official date, Isabel planned dinner and a jazz concert. I'm more into R&B and classic rock, but I was happy to be with her. I arranged to pick up the RV on Sunday, and the dealer was ready. Saturday evening, I picked up Isabel. When she opened the door, I grinned. Sorry, I thought Isabel lived here, I joked. She laughed. You're silly. Come in, I'll be right out. No, really, you look different without your work clothes, I said, admiring her. She smiled, grabbed her things, and we headed out to my car. You look amazing, I said as we got in. Thanks, she replied, glancing over at me. You do too. I hope tonight's great. I opened her door and walked around to mine. As soon as I got in, she moved over to sit close. I had to concentrate hard to drive without crashing. The restaurant was fancy, with a uniformed staff and excellent service. I ordered a bottle of white wine, remembering Isabel's preference. Frederick, our waiter, recommended the pork medallions or filet mignon, so we went with those. The meal exceeded expectations, and Frederick made sure we were well taken care of. Afterward, we went to the concert. The band played both classic standards and new material. I bought a couple of CDs as a reminder of our first date. Isabel suggested we end the night at a small nightclub nearby. It was quieter than I expected, probably because of the old-school big band music. We danced, enjoyed each other's company, and ended the evening perfectly. Back at my house, Isabel grabbed an overnight bag and changed into a pink nightgown. I couldn't help but laugh at her fuzzy slippers. She looked at me with a smile. I think I'm overdressed, she said. I quickly changed and joined her on the couch. Tonight was perfect, I said. It almost felt like a dream. I agree, she replied. I've never had a night like this. Thank you. You make me feel special, she said, cuddling closer. You were special, I said, wrapping my arm around her. I had a great night with a great person. She kissed me, lingering. Is this what love feels like? I've never felt this way before. I don't know, but it'll do until the real thing comes along. Let's go to bed, she said. I want to make passionate love all night. We don't have to get up until noon, I laughed. Why noon? We're picking up the motorhome tomorrow, and someone needs to drive the car back. Wait, really? Which one? I'll show you tomorrow, I said, kissing her and leading her to the bedroom. The next morning, I woke to the smell of fresh coffee. Isabel wasn't in bed, so I figured she'd made it. When I walked into the kitchen, Nora and David were there with Isabel. Well, Dad, Nora said, I guess we know who the mystery woman is, I laughed. You two spying on me? Just had to know, she teased. Isabel made the coffee. We've been waiting for you to wake up. After a while, Isabel went to change and she and Nora started making brunch. I couldn't believe how natural it felt. David borrowed my scroll saw for a project. I handed him a set of keys. Feel free to use anything. Just leave a note if you borrow something. Thanks, Dad, he said. It'll mean a lot to Nora. After brunch, Isabel and I were about to leave. Where are you two headed? Nora asked. We're picking up a motorhome, I replied. He needs someone to drive the car back. Nora laughed. Can't wait to see it. I'm sure you'll drool when you do, I teased, as Isabel and I left for the dealership. I couldn't figure out why it took an hour to fill out paperwork for a straightforward purchase. Sure, it was a big-ticket item, but there was no financing or anything complicated involved. Thankfully, the sales guy didn't try to upsell me, which was a relief. After all the paperwork, we did the orientation. But I felt like I was learning to fly a plane rather than operate an RV. It was going to take a while to get the hang of it without constantly checking the manual. Since the dealership was full service, they took care of the registration and plates. I'd already arranged coverage with BCA, who insured nearly everything I owned. Finally, we left the dealership and headed home. The RV was smaller than the one I'd rented, and it didn't have the tow yet, but Isabel approved of my choice. It was one of her top picks. To my surprise, Nora and David were still there waiting for us. They were both impressed by the RV, especially David, who was fascinated by the tech. I was planning to let my staff and their families use it for trips as long as they paid for the fuel. It was too expensive to let it sit idle. After a little admiration, Nora and David left. Isabel spent more time exploring the RV, checking out all the compartments. I parked it in the backyard and sat in the cockpit, yes, they call it that, going through the manuals. That's when I had an idea. A test drive, I thought. Wednesday. I'll get Isabel to come after work and we'll take it out and show it to Sophia and everyone. Eventually, I got Isabel out of the RV, parked it, and we settled on the patio with some wine. It felt so natural being with her. I realized how much I'd missed this kind of companionship, even before my divorce. Isabel giggled, and I glanced at her. "What's so funny?" I asked. She smirked. "Luke, just messing with your ex." I chuckled. "We should drive the RV by where she lives now." She gave me a curious look. "Why would you want to do that? I didn't think you were into that kind of revenge." "I'm not, really," I admitted. "But I'd love to see the look on her face when she realizes what she missed out on. Honestly, I'm glad I'm with you, not her." Isabel giggled again. "I'm glad she was an idiot, too," I smiled. "That ship sailed long ago, but if we hadn't taken that trip after the divorce, we might not be here. At least we have 2 wonderful daughters to show for it. She was a good mom." "And you had the patience of a saint raising your girls," Isabel said. "I know it wasn't easy." We both fell silent for a moment before I asked, "Have you talked to your daughters about us?" "No," she said. "I'm seeing Sophia soon and Emma if I can swing it. But I see Nora's okay with us. What about Ryan?" "I think he'll be fine," I said. I was more worried about Nora since we didn't exactly get along back then. Isabel nodded. "Ryan came around after I kicked her out. It took Nora a bit longer, but she'll come around too." She smiled. "I'm sure they'll be happy for us." "How about an early dinner?" I suggested. "I'll throw something on the grill or just make a simple salad. I'd like an early night." She teased. "Early as in sleep?" "Exactly," I laughed. "I need to recharge for tomorrow." We settled on a salad, grilled chicken, and a nice bottle of Chardonnay. After dinner, I took Isabel back to her apartment. The week flew by. Between meetings and errands, I barely had time for myself. But Wednesday afternoon finally arrived and I could relax. Isabel popped her head into my office. "What's for dinner?" I looked up and grinned. "How about a quick bite at the diner and then a test drive of the RV? I've been looking forward to it all week." She smiled. "That sounds perfect." "Pick me up in 30 minutes, I said. "I'll change, and then we can head to your place to grab Maxine for the drive." "Maxine?" I asked. "Yeah, I named your RV Maxine. She'll be smart, clever, and funny like the cartoons." She laughed. I groaned. "Why do you women name everything?" "Spoil sport," she teased, heading off to change. I made sure everything was in order at the office before heading home. Isabel was waiting outside her apartment when I arrived. "That was quick," I said. "Not even 20 minutes," she grinned. "Let's go. I'm starving." We got in the car and headed to my place. After a quick stop, we made our way to the RV and drove into town for dinner. The diner served great food, and we enjoyed a relaxed meal, sipping coffee since I was driving. Afterward, we drove around to get used to the RV. Isabel loved the view from the captain's chair, and I couldn't help but smile at how much fun she was having. At 6:59, I parked in front of Sophia's house, planning for the surprise to unfold right on time. "What do you think? Will they want to check out Maxine?" I asked. "You knew we were coming here, didn't you?" she asked suspiciously. I laughed. "Not at all, but I figured we could grab coffee with them." She wasn't convinced, but before she could say anything else, the front door of Sophia's house opened. The family came rushing out, shouting, "Surprise!" Isabel shot me a playful look before being swept into hugs and congratulations. I locked up the RV and followed her inside. Sophia and Emma introduced me to their husbands, and the grandkids were still fawning over Isabel. We headed out to the deck where Isabel was greeted with her big birthday surprise. A shiny magenta Toyota Avalon sat with a big red bow. Isabel's reaction was priceless. She went from stunned to tearful as she walked around the car. "I can't believe this," she said, crying as she admired the car. "It's too much." The grandkids urged her to sit in the car, and she did, overwhelmed by the love from everyone. It was a beautiful moment, and I was glad to see how much she was appreciated by her family. As we gathered around to enjoy cake and ice cream, I couldn't help but smile at how perfect everything felt. About an hour after everyone had arrived and had cake, I stood up. "Hey everyone, I know it's Isabel's birthday, but I have a few things to say. First, let's give Sophia and Emma a huge round of applause for pulling off this surprise." The applause was loud and long. Then I continued. "So, you see that big bus out front? That's my new toy. After my divorce, I went on a trip in a rented RV and loved it so much, I decided to buy my own. There was a murmur of approval. I know I won't use it every day, so I'm offering it to all the staff and their families for vacation use. Of course, I get first dibs, but after that, it's available to book. I haven't figured out the details yet, but we'll work that out soon. Another round of applause followed. I let it settle before continuing. Now, I know you all think you know Isabel, but I'm here to tell you, you might not. When I first hired her, she wouldn't even speak to a goose. She wasn't great at her job then, and she barely talked to anyone, even me. Over time, though, she warmed up and realized the techs in the back weren't some alien species. That got a laugh, especially from the techs. But now, I said, she's become a key part of our team. I paused. However, I added, dragging it out, all good things come to an end. Everyone froze, unsure of what was coming. Isabel, I'm afraid I have to fire you. The room gasped, then exploded in protests. I waved my arms to calm them down. You see, my dear Isabel, I can't have my wife working for me, can I? A stunned silence followed. No one quite knew how to react. I kneeled in front of Isabel and pulled out a small black box. Isabel, will you do me the honor of becoming my wife? Pandemonium erupted. Isabel couldn't speak, but she nodded and fell into my arms. Tears flowed from the adults, while the kids needed Sophia to explain what was going on. Eventually, we managed to enjoy the rest of the night. Of course, the women all wanted to see Isabel's ring, and the men were eager to shake my hand. Sophia pretended to be upset for stealing the spotlight, but she and Emma were thrilled for their mom. Later, as we left, I told Isabel to take the day off tomorrow and handle her car stuff. If there are any extra costs, have the BCA call me. Isabel was still in shock. Luke, I never expected you to propose like that. I'm still trying to process it. I've probably loved you for years, I said softly. I just didn't realize it until my trip to the Rockies. I was afraid after my divorce, but I'm relieved you at least nodded yes. I laughed. Yeah, I didn't get a verbal yes, did I? But officially 1,000 times yes. I'll marry you. If these seats were any closer, you'd never be able to drive, she giggled. I'm not sleeping alone in that apartment. Let me grab some things and I'll come back to your place. I teased. Well, you can't come back to my place. Her face fell. Sweetheart, it's our place. You can move in whenever you want. You can even sublease the apartment or buy out the lease. It's up to you. Damn you, Luke. You're gonna tease me to end? She laughed. Wait here while I pack a bag. We'll get the rest later. She returned in 15 minutes with a bag. I think I could start filling up my side of the closet, I joked. Whatever you want, sweetheart, she giggled. Let's go home. As we drove toward the house, she said, Luke, did I ever tell you your wife is an idiot? I think you mentioned it once, I smiled. Hope that's not what you're thinking now. You are, she teased. I think I'm the luckiest woman on the planet, she said, sighing contentedly. We arrived and parked the motorhome in the backyard. After securing everything, I carried Isabel's suitcase to the house. She was waiting on the deck when I came around. As I walked inside, I found her curled up on a chaise lounge, crying. Isabel, sweetheart, what's wrong? Are you okay? Through her tears, she said, I'm fine, it's just everything. What happened tonight? It's a lot to handle. I sat next to her and held her, letting her cry it out. After a while, she asked, You need to call Nora and Ryan, right? Or did they already know about this? No one knew except me. Sophia told me about the car, but no one else knew about the proposal. She wiped her eyes. I hope I don't have to go through this again. Why? You want another proposal at a birthday party? I teased. God, you're such a brat, she punched my arm playfully. I'm a mess, she added. I need to clean up. You call your kids and I'll need a glass of Chardonnay. Go on, I said. I'll bring your wine out when you're ready. I poured her wine and called Nora. After chatting, I handed the phone to Isabel. Then I called Ryan. Both were happy for us and said they'd be there for the wedding. We decided to marry at the house in 3 months. Our honeymoon would be in Maxine, the motorhome. We'd return to Riverside, where I'd already planned a route. The wedding planning kept me busy, but I stayed out of the way. Isabel chose Sophia as matron of honor, Emma and Nora as bridesmaids, and I picked Ryan as my best man. Jeff and an old friend were groomsmen. When the wedding day arrived, I was a nervous wreck, but everything went smoothly. Isabel looked stunning in a pale blue gown, and we exchanged vows in the backyard. Afterward, we had a buffet, champagne, and even a band. The night ended with us sneaking away to a resort for our honeymoon. The next morning, We returned to the house, where family pitched in to help clean up. We then packed Maxine and headed to Riverside. At the first campground, we were greeted by fellow campers who congratulated us, until we noticed the sign the kids had put on the motorhome. Young newlyweds at 29. We left it up for fun. In Riverside, we were treated like royalty. George and Selma insisted on covering our stay, but I made it clear we'd pay for the extra week. We stayed for 2 weeks, relaxing, exploring, and making memories before heading back to work and starting our new life together.